Welcome to the Tangent Gentlemen, where each week Scott and I start with a topic from the previous episode, and we see where the conversation takes us. Along the way, we'll have some tangents that we keep track of, or our buddy Chris keeps track of, and one of those tangents will become next week's discussion. What's up, Scott? Good to see you again.
How you doing, Brett? How are you, sir? Doing pretty good. How about you?
You shaved the beard, man.
I did. The beard is gone away. Little homage. We'll see it again in October.
We went from both having beards to both being beardless in 11 episodes.
That's right. Yeah. Wow, what an arc. What a story arc.
Have you ever had your beard professionally trimmed?
No, I told myself this past fall I was going to do that, and I never did. Have you?
No, I was going to do the same thing, but man, I started calling, I looked up barbers that, everybody said did a good job of trimming beards. And hell, they're all like 4 and 5 weeks out from appointments.
Wow. There's a place pretty near my house that opened, probably 2 or 3 years ago. And they had a whole story about trying to bring back the old school neighborhood, meeting place, barbershop, a gentleman kind of a vibe. And I thought, I'll go there. But I just never did. So maybe this fall I will. So
I was going to let it grow long. I was going to do it last year too, and then, man, I don't know, something about trying to trim in the mirror. You get screwed up, like you'll be doing all right, and then all of a sudden I just cut a big old chunk out of one side and had to shave it. The mirror messes you up.
Yeah, well,
all right, man. Happen. So tonight's topic is systems versus people.
Yes, I am. This one was tough for me. I thought I had some ideas, kicked it around with a couple people. Did some research, read some stuff, and I don't know where it's going to go. We'll see what happens. Where are you? I kept ending up into this place I didn't want to be, which was all this stuff about systems related to AI, which I did not. That's not what I wanted to get into at all.
Well, I didn't really go there. The problem I
didn't try to go there. I came to get pushed there, but AI, they're manipulating me.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of people are implementing that and AI into their systems. My wife worked in claims, health insurance claims, and the company she worked for, the CEO decided that they were going to have a certain percentage of their claims paid by AI, and they stuck to it. I mean, they were just too rigid with their system because they found out right away there were too many variables in claims for AI at that point to be able to pay them correctly. And all these claims were being paid incorrectly. And they were just kept saying, well, we've got to have this percentage paid by it. So they were going ahead and sticking with that and having these claims paid incorrectly that they knew would be paid incorrectly and having to go back and fix those just because it was part of their new plan.
What they committed to. Yeah. So I have a thought on that, on the medicals related to the systems process, but or systems versus people. Well, what were you going to say early on? What was your initial thoughts?
The problem I had, we were so systems oriented in our school. And then when I went to the district level, I was on the team that created the system for the district. So I was having to try to think outside of education, it's just and what that system would look like and trying to expand on that. So, I guess we should start. How would you define systems? What is a system? As that we're talking about for this podcast episode.
I was thinking of sort of a series of protocols and an arrangement of, these are sort of the rituals and routines, the regular sort of not what we used to call non-negotiables. These are the things we're going to work through. These are the things we're going to do. These are the expectations we have for sort of how things are done. Rituals and routines, I guess, is what I'll come back to. And then also sort of the hierarchy of those rituals and routines. So if event A happens at level 1, that means that at level 2, then A triggers B, C, or D. So then you have to respond with B, C, or D. That is the standard, that is the system that we use. So that's kind of what I was thinking of in terms of systems.
Okay.
And then the people part of it came in is who's doing the A, why, and then the interpersonal conversations about why did event A happen from your perspective? Well, we need to get out of the education, because I think I don't know if we need to, but we probably should. Because in our world, if an event happens in your classroom, how did you respond? Is that a response consistent with what we agreed upon is our school's practice or our school's systems, if you will? And I'm not talking punitive. I'm talking more like education.
Yeah.
You asked these questions, student responded in this way. Was that a response you anticipated? Did you have a response to the student's response? Did that, was that in line with what you thought? Or so that's sort of the system, what I was thinking of systems. And then the people part of it is, and I guess I take this back to what we were talking about last week, is the idea is that people, coaches, are successful because the people respond appropriately based upon coaching. Or is it they respond appropriately because of intuition? And I guess that's where the people part of this week's conversation comes in for me. The systems are sort of the fixed entities, and the people are sort of the fluid entities.
Yeah.
Somewhat. I don't know. That's kind of where my head is on this right now.
Okay. Well, obviously we know what people are, with systems, and, you're talking about, we're familiar with the system we built within our institution, which was, our organization, which was a school. But I do think for our system, for every system, there's got to be a clear, specific goal. Well, we got to know what outcome we're trying to get from our system. For us, it was to increase student learning, and that's what our system was. So then, if you want to increase student learning, then you start breaking it down into all the components of that system. What are the things that need to be done, that need to interact, successfully to increase student learning? And I think that can be, passed along to any organization, sports, business, all kinds of things.
Yeah. Well, you talked about your wife's work with the insurance companies. And one of the things I thought of is where the systems analysis or systems approach seems to be failing to me is in medicine. I have several friends that are doctors, and I talk to them about how the system of medicine and how they're supposed to practice medicine in terms of minutes per patient, and that procedure necessitates this conversation and things of that nature that are much more rigid. And you're spending too much time, for this diagnosis, you should only spend 14 minutes, but yet you're spending 22 minutes and you're falling behind because of that. And my friends that are doctors tell me that from their perspective, as the people in this, they are seen as failing, but yet they think they are providing good medical care. Whereas the systems analysts say that the system says you're not, because you're falling behind. So now you've got, you're seeing patient 1 for 22 minutes when it should be 14 minutes. That means patient 2 is now waiting 12 minutes longer than they should have. And when they come in, they're not getting necessarily the care that they should get. So there's the system of managing care that seems to run against people and what the people in the process know. And that gets back to, in my mind, this is a thought I had, and maybe I'm totally off base, but a while ago, I remember several pods ago, you asked, is such and such a science? We were talking about what is psychology. A science? It's psychology, so psychology is science. And I think what happens is people come up with good instruments to analyze things. And if they're effective in one area, then people tend to think they're universally effective. So and that's where I wonder if system, which I'm a big systems guy. I mean, I I feel like that was one thing in our past work is I always felt like I was really good at looking at systems and understanding variables that are influencing systems and regulating systems and, improve X to get this outcome or whatever. I always felt like that was really a skill that I brought to the table. But now I see sort of the downside of that. Like I think it can be over manipulated or over analyzed or overutilized. So it's kind of like I feel like I kind of lived it being overused at the district level, and I got some ideas on that. I wanted to back up. You talked about, let's go back to personal life. Let's go back to individuals. Let's start there. So, do you consider yourself to be tied to routines and have habits, somewhat disciplined, maybe? Not really.
Okay.
I used to think I was, but honestly, if I'm being totally honest, I'm not. I have rituals that I do, but I'm not disciplined in them anymore.
Okay.
I mean, I'm really not. And it bothers me at times that I'm not, but if I'm being honest, I'm not.
I was kind of thinking about, and I was going back to work life. And I think a lot of people probably do this. A lot of people probably have a morning routine. Did you have a morning routine getting up, going to work?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's things you have to do. And this is kind of how I was thinking through this because this was so broad and trying to pinpoint where we want to go with systems. But, to get out of the door, to be at work at 5:45, I had to get out of the door at 5:35. I was pretty close to my workplace as a principal. So, I would just back up with there. And I know the things I wanted to do in the morning. And, you decide when you're going to get up and when you're going to eat, when you're going to shower, when you're going to do your morning workout. And I had a really strong system that I did religiously for years. And it got me thinking about systems. One of the things when you talk about systems versus people, for a system to be effective, don't you think it has to be something that's predictable, something that's repeatable?
Yeah, because I don't think systems, and this kind of gets back to my medical example, systems do not allow for variability.
A poor system doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what my friends in the medical practice tell me is that the patients are not, they are not a 45-year-old who presents with diabetes,
they're not predictable.
Right. That's it. That's not all they are.
Yeah.
They are also a person who has mild hypertension or a person who is overweight or a person who, all these other pieces come into it. Whereas the system says this is a 45-year-old with diabetes. And so therefore, this is what they respond to. They should need, which to your point, a good system versus a bad system. That was another thing I started getting into, a little bit of the analysis of how flexible does a system need to be in order to be effective.
Well, here's where I come to. First of all, going back to the morning routine, I just want to throw something out here. Part of my morning routine was a 7-minute workout. You ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah. We used to do that. You told me about that. Yeah.
So the body weight workout, it takes 7 minutes. Yeah. I did it every day for over 5 years, every morning. And this is one of the things that just drives me crazy about human nature. The whole time I ever did it, I never wanted, I dreaded it every day. And I felt at the end of that 7 minutes, I felt good and felt so much better when I got done. And I knew every time I did it, I was going to feel good and feel so much better when I got done. But still, the next day, I would dread doing it. Yeah. I wonder what it is about human nature that makes us hate doing something like that we know is going to make us feel great.
I am the same. I don't know if you remember this. We went to Baltimore and we met these guys who were like yoga guys. Remember these guys we met? Or we were in Harvard. We met them actually. We went to the thing at Harvard. Were you were there for that, right?
And we met yoga guys.
Remember the yoga guys? They were from Baltimore.
Yoga
And they
gas.
taught us these 5 exercises.
Was I with you?
I thought you were there. Maybe you weren't.
I was at
Were you at that when we went to? You were there when we went to Harvard. Maybe you weren't. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So these guys, they were like, I mean, they were like, you would not have pegged these guys as like the yoga guru guys, but they were. But they were from Baltimore Public Schools, and then we went to visit them. Later, went to go to Baltimore, and I know you didn't go to that. I think Chris did. We'll see if Chris can fact check me on that one. But
it sounds somewhat familiar.
They taught us these 5 exercises to do, 5 yoga exercises to do, and they're like, these are the ones that people report. Like, they give you the most, satisfaction, focus, da da da. And I am exactly to this day. I try to do those. Now, I don't do them every day. And when I don't do them, I'm always mad at myself. Like, why didn't you do that? You felt better. You felt more, you just felt better. You were just more flexible, more comfortable. You just felt better. Why did you not do those today?
Is it just biological to try to conserve energy, you think? Is that?
Or laziness? For me, it's always... I said I don't have rituals now, but it's funny if I tell you like these are the 3 things that I do every day. It's so they're like not. I mean, I guess they're mentally healthy. I have a series of puzzles, like mental puzzles, I do every day.
Yeah.
Every day since I've retired, I do them every day.
Yeah.
And I usually sit down and like have a version of a coffee drink, which is funny because I never drank coffee before. But my younger son's way into coffee, and he's taught me a lot. So I'll have a different coffee drink every day and read the paper. That's like kind of my morning. That is my morning ritual. And when I don't do that, I'm kind of annoyed. I'm like, by 1:00, I'm like, damn it. I want to reset.
Yeah. So you got a personal system at home.
I do, but it's not as healthy. After this is over, I want to talk to you about some healthier routines. I think you're living a healthier life than I am.
But anyway, what I was going to say about, and I think this could be something with the medical example you were using. So one conclusion I made was that you have to have a specific outcome in mind to be able to write a system, to be able to create a system for a specific outcome. The second thing is, or I don't know if it's a second thing or it's another thing, is that it's got to be predictable and repeatable.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is, and this is where I think a lot of people mess up, and rather than systems decreasing stress and making the work environment or personal life better, I think a system is more about raising the floor than anything else. Hmm. And I kind of take my own personal experience with that. When I got to the district level and they wanted to create a system for the district, which, how many schools do we have in JCPS?
21 high schools. I don't know how many.
250 schools, maybe.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so the system just kept getting more and more complex and more rigid, and trying to pull the floor all the way up to our top schools. And you can't do that. Right. There's a lot of people. That's where people come in that are involved to get that school to the top. But I do think we could have created a good system to make sure certain things that have to exist in a school for a school to be successful, to make sure that those happened, and make sure that certain decisions were being made to raise that floor a little bit, and we could increase the whole district by boosting the floor a little bit. But there were people that wanted to take it further than that, so it became too rigid, and you took away. There was a lot to be lost once you do that.
Well, see, I like that because I like that idea because I think it gets it to your point I said earlier about where you pointed out. Well, a good system should allow that. I think a good system needs to be malleable. A good system needs to recognize that the achievements at school A versus the achievements at school B are not going to be the same thing primarily because of the people.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of schools, mostly, to a significant amount, the students that go to that school make a difference. I'm not blaming kids, but I'm just saying that does make a difference. And then you can layer into all the other pieces. The parents that support those kids, or the parents that are involved in those kids' lives, the adults that are involved in those kids' lives, the teachers at that school. All of those things determine or greatly influence what the outcomes of that school are. That does not mean that school cannot have a floor of success.
Right.
Even if it was the worst version of, or the most struggling version of that. To me, I think we've talked about this before, but there's a school that I learned about very early on in my teaching, Central Park East, which was in Harlem. And this woman, Debbie Myers, who's one of them, if you're a teacher, a young teacher, want to be a teacher, this book she wrote called The Power of Their Ideas is one of the best books I've ever read about teachers and ideas about schools and kids and empowering and advocating, teaching kids to be self-advocates. And her idea was, I don't care about all these external variables. What I care about, are you serious about school? And serious about school doesn't mean you're coming in and you can read at the 5th grade level when you're 5. That's not what serious about school means. Serious about school means I'm coming here and I'm willing to do what you, the professionals, tell me I need to do to get better from where I am to where I would like to improve to. Now, I may not I may come in as a 5-year-old and not able to read. And by the end of the year, I may not be reading at the 2nd grade level, but you will have improved because you're willing to work at improving. And I think that's where the people component of systems play a role in your meeting the floor and moving above the floor, actually.
Yeah.
So,
I think, if you talk about systems versus people, if you have good people, you are going to have success on a small scale.
Right.
Like maybe one school, your school, or maybe one McDonald's.
Yeah. Right.
But if you want to scale, if you want to take something to scale, if you're talking about scalability, is that a word, scalability?
Sure. You just made it one. If it isn't,
if you're talking about scalability, there has to be a system involved. And, thinking about fast food restaurants, gosh, that's something we all experience. There's some reason, and I would bet it's a cleanliness. Cleanliness is the floor, right? That should be down low. That should be one of the basic things in a fast food restaurant. Yeah. You go on a Chick-fil-A, no matter where you go across the nation, they're always clean.
Yeah.
You go into a Burger King, no matter where you are across the nation, most of the time they're dirty. There might be one franchise.
Watch out, Burger King Brett's coming for you. Jeez.
You don't think so?
I can't tell you last time I was at Burger King, honestly.
You probably quit going because they're always dirty.
Jeez. Okay.
But another example of that, when we're traveling, and you travel, quite a bit by car, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you have certain places that you stop off the interstates to go into because they're going to be nice and clean and the restrooms are going to be clean?
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somewhat.
We do.
I mean, I'm a little odd in that regard. I like to, not necessarily for the restroom, because to me that's just utilitarian, but I will have my road trip.
Hang on a second. So you don't mind a dirty restroom?
No, I mean, not gross. I don't want it to be gross, but I mean, I'm there for, 90 seconds?
Oh.
Yeah.
I can't take a dirty restroom. Here's one of here's an
it's funny because my wife, Erin, she's like you.
Here's an interesting fact about me, and that's very stupid of humans. I will never wash my hands in a public restroom.
That is weird as hell.
Because I'm going to be cleaner if I touch nothing going in there except myself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. That is weird.
I use my shirt to open the door. I don't touch anything.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
So
no. Okay. Did not know that.
So if you want to increase your cleanliness, do not wash your hands in public restrooms.
Well, I've been washing my hands in public restrooms for however long I've been going to public restrooms.
Well, you probably increased your immune system.
My immune system, exactly. There's some other thought I was getting at. I mean, you talked about the rest of fast food places. Well, I was saying Erin says that she thinks that's an index for restaurants. Like if we could be at a restaurant that we were really enjoying, and if she goes to the bathroom, she'll come back and say, this place is disgusting. Like, how did it go from like a nice restaurant? She's like, because the bathroom's disgusting.
Right with her.
But she worked at McDonald's all through college. So she probably got, sort of indoctrinated into cleanliness is quality or something. I don't know, whatever one of their checkpoints on their thing is.
McDonald's are pretty consistent, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, considering how many there are, I would think there are more McDonald's that have a certain level of cleanliness than there are Burger Kings.
Wow. Shade all over the Burger King, right?
I'll tell you another restaurant that's consistently dirty. Qdoba.
Okay.
So they need to work on their systems.
Yeah.
But I got way off topic there, but that's okay. But
sorry, that's what we do.
But we're talking about increasing the floor.
Yeah.
You've got to figure out what components does an institution need to be successful, and then you need to make sure everybody understands, what the system is around there and where they fit in that, and what the expectations are, and then it has to be measured.
Right.
But it can't be anything. It can't be anything beyond a person's or institution's capabilities.
Right. And I think that's where a lot of times that my friends in the healthcare profession, they would get very frustrated when these external entities would say, you should be doing X. And these external entities, they never practiced medicine a day in their life. They never saw a single patient. But there's, to them, it's a minutes index, or it's a, some bizarre index. Which to me, that's a testament to the flaw in the system. The system's grossly flawed.
Yeah, it goes back to that outcome. The system in healthcare should be about making patients healthier, right?
Right.
And they've made it about efficiency.
Yeah. Right.
Or not even efficiency, productivity.
Yeah. So before we get out of the way, I want to talk about this thing I read, which I thought was fascinating. I mean, it's not surprising, but it is fascinating to see it. So basically, these people they looked at this study of sort of mistakes and errors, and do people attribute them to the system or to people, to an individual? And pretty much the overwhelming consensus was, if I observe you making a mistake, it's because you as an individual failed. If I make a mistake in doing exactly the same thing, it's because the system is flawed.
Yeah.
So this particular one,
everybody else makes mistakes but me.
Yeah, but I just thought that was a fascinating thing. I mean, because this one thing was about. This one article related to that got me started on this was about safety. Like, safety in a workplace a fault of the designs of the system, or is it a fault of the individuals who make careless decisions at work? And then that's where I started with this. And then it got into another study, got into this idea of attributing blame. Like, who is responsible? Like, could it have been prevented? Could your accident have been prevented? And like I said, most people said for other people, it was their individual carelessness or reckless behavior or inattention to detail that made it happen. But my own individual accident was because no one told me how dangerous this was, or the system put me in a position where I had to make a unsafe decision. And I just thought that was an interesting thing about human nature. Like how arbitrary, like, as much as we can say a system is an objective set of rules and regulations and protocols, except when it pertains to me. If it pertains to me or pertains to somebody else, then it's, no, they messed up. The individual messed up. And I just thought that was really interesting because it kind of gets at this idea of systems are objective, but people are subjective.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think it's easy for a system to get to the point where also you take away individuality at a certain point, where if you have a good system, I think you still have that piece in there, you know, for people to be creative and individuals. And, you know, I don't think you lose that piece if you keep it at the basics to create success, whatever that specific outcome of, measured success is.
Well, see, I think that I agree. And I think that is represented by both the story you told of your wife's work with claims assessments and also my friends in the medical profession. Because what are they doing? They are both of these systems approach, whether it's the AI approach or the efficiency or productivity approach, they're taking the individual who is knowledgeable and capable out of the equation. They're saying the appraiser or the evaluator, your wife's job, they don't know enough. You know, they're not capable enough to make efficient, good decisions. Or this system, this computer system or the AI is better. And in my case of the doctors, they're not able to make good, efficient system decisions. And in both cases, I see that as an indictment of the system and not recognizing the value of the people. So this is a far field from Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick, I just got to say. Just how we got here last week.
That is true. Speaking of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, I've never been to an NFL football game.
Really?
Never.
Oh, we got to go. I've been going. My brother, since I retired, my brother and I have gone to 1 or 2 a year. And
I would like to go to a Green Bay game. Everybody up here in North Dakota seems like they're either Minnesota fans or Green Bay fans.
So I went to this past year. I went to the Bills game in Buffalo.
Oh yeah,
and Buffalo is a fantastic sports town.
Did you
Did you
go to the Anchor Bar?
I did not go to the Anchor Bar. I have a friend that goes to Buffalo pretty regularly, and he encouraged me to go to this other place called Gus's First Ward. And I don't know what's going on at the Anchor Bar, but I got to say, Gus's First Ward, shout out. I mean, it was great. It was a fantastic sports bar. Now,
so do you know what the Anchor Bar is known for?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
The wings, yeah. But I heard that when we were at Gus's, first of all, it was Game 7 of the World Series, which is Saturday before the football game we were going to, and Toronto was playing. So everybody in the bar was pulling for the Blue Jays, so that was a blast.
Yeah.
Their wings were phenomenal. And everyone I talked to there from Buffalo said, don't go to Anchor Bar. It's not that good. It's overrated. It's a tourist trap. So I don't know. I never made it. But
the other it's just you're eating where Buffalo Wild Wings or hot wings were supposedly invented,
Yeah.
They say they got it up on a placard. They say that the lady that owned the bar's young son, I guess in their early 20s, and all his friends came in one night late. Like early morning, 2 or 3 a.m., and all she had left was chicken wings. So that's what she did. She made chicken wings.
So as a weird aside, I was a chemistry, major in college, and one of my friends had a job. KFC was based in Louisville, and he got a job at KFC, an internship at KFC, and he was working on a project to breed chickens that did not have wings.
Are you making this up?
No, I'm not making this up. Because they were losing money on chickens they were just throwing them away. This was in the mid 80s. Yeah. They were just throwing them away because nobody was eating wings.
Now what they need to do is they need to and make some chickens that wings grow back after you cut them off.
So, while you're throwing shade on Burger King, I don't know if this is a national chain or if it's just regional. Roosters. I don't know where that place Roosters is getting their chicken wings, but it kind of scares me how big they are. Like I'm afraid of the chicken that has wings that are that big.
Yeah. Yeah.
So So, all right. So, yeah, I don't know. But one other thing, if you NFL, if you want to go, I'll go. We went to Lambeau a couple years ago at Green Bay.
Yeah.
Talk about an absolute blast of a town. Everybody loves football. Everywhere you go, all weekend, they know the Packers are playing. The party in the parking lot is so welcoming, so inviting. It's just
even to the opponents.
Oh yeah, it didn't matter. Yeah. I mean, we went. My brother's a 49ers fan, and he had on a 49ers sweatshirt, and we were walking around the parking lot, and they were playing the 49ers that weekend, and it was just people were so nice. And I will say, one of the group, everyone in Green Bay was great. One group I met in Buffalo, they were fantastic. I see this bourbon, and I'm mentioning the bourbon, and the guy's like, "Oh, you know about bourbon?" I said, "Well, I'm from Kentucky." "Oh, you're from Kentucky," and it's just the whole bourbon Kentucky conversation. End up hanging out with this guy for an hour or so. Come to find out, this is crazy. He's a New York State Supreme Court justice.
Oh yeah, and he's like, "Did you say his name or not?"
I probably shouldn't. I don't know. Yeah. But he gives me his business card, and I was like, "Yeah, great, thanks." And then when we got home on that Tuesday, I called my brother. I said, "Hey, I looked that guy up. He's a judge. He's a state judge, Supreme Court justice." But he was super nice. But everyone in Green Bay was just so welcoming, so inviting. I will go if you say let's pick a game this year. I'll go because it was a blast.
I guess being fun. A Supreme Court justice and bourbon must go hand in hand because we have a good friend here at home that likes bourbon and was a Supreme Court justice.
It's funny. I mentioned that to that man's nephew, and he said a similar thing.
So what kind of bourbon did you guys drink? Did he have good bourbon?
Well, he had a pretty impressive spread. He had on his public table, he had Blanton's, Eagle Rare 10. I can't remember. Those were the two premiums. And when he saw me, I talked to him, and then we came back by. He said, "Hey, Kentucky, come on over. I'm glad you came back." And he had Weller 12 in the truck.
Oh, all right.
And he said, I don't put this out for everybody, but since you're here, I'll pour some for you. So, yeah. So, super nice guy. Yeah.
All right.
So that's been my experience. NFL football fans, if you love football, they're welcoming to. I mean, they're just good people.
So you're getting ready to. You just bought 5 liquor stores. Okay. You bought 5 liquor stores in Kentucky that's known for great bourbon. Would you rather have average teams at each of those stores with elite systems? Or would you rather have elite people at each of those stores with little to no direction?
The first. I'd rather have average teams with good systems.
Me too. Yeah. So we agree then that systems are pretty important.
Yeah. Yeah. But I have to throw in that caveat of, like you said, there have to be flexible. And I really like your floor metaphor. Like the goal has to be to establishing a floor.
Yep.
And then in the event that you get great people, the ceiling will be pretty amazing.
Yeah. People are going to take you to the high levels. Always. A system's not going to take you to elite levels, I don't think. It's going to be elite people that take you there.
Yeah.
So we're going to have Scott or Chris join us here very shortly on the Google Meet to see how we did tonight. What do you, I see you've had a few drinks, and you said, I'm drinking Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel.
I'm drinking Eagle Rare Manhattan tonight.
And I got to say, I like just the regular Elijah Craig better.
Yeah.
This is, I would describe it as spicy.
That's my general impression of illegal.
What's going on, guys?
We were just talking about our drinks.
Well, I was just thinking that Burger King sponsorship's not going to happen, is it?
No, nor Qdoba.
Yeah. So I'll start out by saying this had to set the record for the most fast food chains we talked about on a show. So that did happen.
Yeah, that did. Yeah,
that did happen.
Well, it is a system. They are systems, right?
Yeah, they're true. I would have won the bet that Chick-fil-A was going to come up on this discussion, although we really didn't talk about it a whole lot, but it did come up. A few things here. Now, let me do this. We've lost the BK sponsorship, maybe Chick-fil-A, but also that yoga group was in 2016. Brandy was on that trip. It was the year the Chicago Cubs won the World Series, and I will never forget that trip.
Was I there?
Right.
You were not there.
No. Okay, thank goodness. Thank goodness I wasn't there. I know my memory is slipping, but
I have never seen Chris so wound up as he was that night. Oh my gosh, I remember that now. You say that, Chris.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I can tell you, like that game, it went into extra innings, and I could not go to sleep until 4:00 in the morning, and we had to catch a train or catch the subway over at like 6:30. And I'm sitting at this table on the last day at Harvard, and I'm like, I look like hell and feel like hell. And I look over, and this woman looks as bad as I did. And she looked at me and said, "Are you a Cubs fan?" I said, "Yes." "Me too." She said, "Me too." I said, "I'm exhausted." I said, "Oh my God, I can't wait to get on the plane." But yeah, that was one of the best nights ever. But yeah, those guys were amazing. We actually ended our the week with them at a session with them right before we headed out. And I wish I could remember the exercises. So I thought I'm going to get Scott to share those with me.
I still do them probably 5 days a week. So
now there's some interesting quotes I thought I would share about systems and people. I thought were pretty cool. I would share these. It's just from random people. They're Edwards Deming, who is just an engineer and a professor. A bad system will beat a good person every time. I thought that's probably very true. James Reason, we cannot change the human condition, but we can change the condition under which humans work. Very interesting. And then the last one I really like, tell me how you measure me, and I will tell you how I will behave. Kind of set up with systems as well. That really applicable, I think, to education. One last little quote here I'll throw in. Systems usually win wars, but the very best people can rewrite history. I thought that was interesting and somewhat true.
Hey, we didn't even talk about the military, but I mean, that's you talk about systems.
You know, I came across this idea about systems, and it was a pretty disturbing fact. Or one of the most efficient systems in the past century was not a very pleasant one, but it was a very good system at doing what it wanted to do.
War,
which was war.
Well, I mean that's what the military systems are set up for. They want to take away decision making under extreme stress of war.
Well, this was specifically about the Nazis. The Nazis were very good at their systems.
Yeah, no doubt.
Which I mean, as a person of German heritage, that's obviously not something I'm especially proud of. But it is, and what made me think about it, it got me thinking about it. I haven't seen it yet, but I saw that the movie Nuremberg was on one of the streaming services.
Yeah,
and I've heard that's a really interesting because it's about a psychiatrist who has to. Has anybody seen that movie yet?
Not yet.
No. Okay, but it's a psychiatrist at the Nuremberg trial, and he has to assess Goering, and Hermann Goering, and decide, is this person a psychopath or a sociopath, or could he stand trial?
I haven't seen that, but I did watch Soul Power after last week.
And
it's good.
That's great.
I think I got one episode left. Yeah.
You'll see Lloyd on the last one, I think, a little bit more.
Lloyd's on a couple,
Man,
yeah.
Was Dr. J unbelievable or what?
Oh, just unbelievable.
Think about that dunk. I mean, I told Evan, he came in, and my older son and I said, watch this. The time when he dunked from the free throw line.
Yeah.
They're like,
he could have jumped a foot and a half further back and still made that dunk.
Just the way he controlled his body. I mean,
freakish.
He'd probably been a good ballerina. That's not what do you call a male ballerina?
I call him a male ballerina.
A ballet dancer? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is a ballerina female? Would it be a ballerino?
I
don't know what it is. What is it?
You know,
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, we need to find that out before next week. Look it up, Chris.
All right, Chris, where are we at? Do we have grades?
Yeah. Just do the grades before we go on to the next topic here. Like, you guys haven't done the grades yet.
Oh man, this is so mixed. I have got to go. We are a D because there are so many people and places with horrible systems that cause people stress rather than lift them up.
Yeah, I would agree.
And
I think I got a suggestion. I think it would be cool on this one to grade systems and grade people separately. I think it's interesting how you feel like which one, because think of the, if we're going sports, the Spurs, the San Antonio Spurs, they had some superstars, don't get me wrong, but they won because of system. To where you have the MJ, the Michael Jordans, who just won because you had you had Michael Jordan and enough people. The system's great, sure, but so grade the people, grade the system.
Well, I think it depends on.
Are you grading like the value of people in success, or the value of each of these in success? Is that what grade you're prompting us to do?
I don't know how we can do that because basketball example. I think basketball is a sport where it can be dominated by a couple of good people, but then if you talk about football, I think a system's going to be much stronger there. But so
the more people together on a system can overcome just superior people.
Hey, good point. Kind of like we were talking about with franchises. If you're talking about scalability, you got to scale it further. You got to scale it among more people with football than you do basketball. So I think
also if we go outside the sports realm a little bit, I feel like the state of medicine right now, medical care in the U.S., I think the system is failing miserably. I don't think the professionals, I don't think the people have gotten worse at it. I think the system has failed. They're focusing on the wrong things.
Yeah.
I mean, Brad, you talked about productivity and efficiency. That's not healthcare. That's not what,
Well, yeah, if you're focused on the wrong outcome, your system's going to suck.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say it's a D. For me, systems are a D. People are probably I don't know. C is such a generic answer, but I kind of feel like that's what it is.
I love
great
people. I'm giving people an A. We love you, people. Unless you work at Burger King.
I knew you were going to say.
I'm just kidding.
Not the people at Burger King. It's the expectations of Burger King.
It's a system.
It's a system. It's not the people. It's a system.
All right, we better get on our tangents. We don't want to go.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me just run through
our podcast.
Yeah. Let me just run through. You talked about a lot. It's including the NFL has come up again. We talked a little about the NFL, about Green Bay, and I'm in on that trip, guys, especially if you give me one more year to retire, but don't wait on me. I'll try to make it if I can. But NFL, you talked about bourbon, which makes every episode just about. Beards, you talked about chicken wings and wingless chickens, which has to be a first on a podcast. And like I said, we talked about a lot of fast food restaurants, but here's what I have it narrowed down to, these four themes or topics. Because Scott, you talked about the doctors, and you should finish it in this procedure in 28 minutes, and it's taken a little bit long, whatever. But it kind of got me to quality versus efficiency, and which is kind of like measurement. How are you measuring? How are things measured? As the general theme of measurement. The second one, we talked a lot about rituals, or you guys did, about rituals and routines, from morning workouts to yoga to a brain puzzler that you do in the morning. So the rituals and routines, very, very interesting, kind of talk about how that impacts you. And I think, the positive part of it, and can it become overbearing? Can a ritual routine / become overbearing? Third thing, we talked a little bit about, this is kind of more along with the workout, but like human nature. Brad was talking about, and I related to this because he talked about doing 7 minutes. We're talking a 7-minute workout. 7 minutes. It's like a commercial break. 7-minute workout. He dreaded it. But when he finished it, he's like, I feel so much better. And then the next morning, he's back to dreading it again.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just talking about human nature. I know it's a big topic. You can go a lot of ways with human nature, but, it's pretty interesting because there's a lot of things that are applicable to that same thought process that Brad had in his morning workout. I have it with my workouts. I've had many times I didn't want to go do my workout, but I've never had one time where I regretted it. So why do I know that going in and I still don't want to go do it? It's human nature. And the fourth one I got, you knew this was coming, and I knew this about my boy Brad. That's why I hug him and don't shake his hand. He doesn't wash his hands, and I thought he was joking the first 5 times he said that to me, and then I realized he's not kidding. So it brought me up to the one word: germs. Like just germs. That is so and it that branches off so many different ways. So
I do want to say though, I do wash my hands. I just don't wash them in public places.
Hey, I have some tricks of the trade to show you on how to get out of there without touching anything and still get your hands washed. But
you don't have to wash your hands if you don't touch anything.
Well, I'm not always wearing shorts, but I get it. So you're the guy that pulls his pants all the way down to his ankles. I get it. That makes sense now.
Hey, TMI for the podcast.
All right. So there's your 4. Let me review them. Measurements. Number 2, rituals and routines. Number 3, human nature. And number 4, germs.
I'm going to go outside as top 4 on this one. I would like to talk about bourbon.
You talked about bourbon plenty. And what I liked about what you talked about, I almost wrote this down, but I already had 4 and I didn't want to add it. And I didn't know if I was going to branch it out to past bourbon, but connections, like bourbon is such a connection, it seems like, with a lot of the people that you talk to. But bourbon as an industry, bourbon as just reviews, or bourbon as just a common denominator connection. I was thinking about branching it out to alcohol or something.
I was just thinking, should we expand it to alcohol? Or do you all even like that? Do you even like that one, Scott?
I like bourbon because I think I know this because we've done, I think we aren't we the 3 originals of the tasting club?
Bourbon tasting, yeah. Yeah.
We were.
The first one was the best ever.
I still don't like Booker's. I'm lying, but I still don't like Booker's. But I like that because I think it could go so many places. I mean, where it is, our experience with our tastings, who we involve, what we talk about. I like bourbon. I don't want to get into, because honestly, I don't drink much other alcohol.
Same.
I mean, I really don't. I have a beer every once in a while, but
I drink mostly
80%
bourbon.
of the time I'm drinking bourbon.
Yeah.
So,
let me say,
I think bourbon as a sort of as a lowercase b, if that makes any sense. What does it mean? It's sort of a thing as a unifier. Because I'm already spinning with that idea, but I do like rituals and routines. But I think I probably like rituals and routines because I think you guys are much more disciplined than I am about healthy routine that I need to get better at. So that's probably more of a.
I'll throw this in. I'll throw this in too. I'm glad you said that, Brad, because if bourbon wasn't the last thing when you guys started talking about Green Bay and going to the tailgating, and Scott talked about the Weller 12 connection and just the Kentucky guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're called Kentucky guy because of bourbon.
Yeah.
And I would say the first thing you are most qualified to talk about, the both of you and myself probably included, would be education. But I think the second most probably qualified thing, you guys are expert bourbon drinkers. So, hey, that would be a cool topic too.
Have either of you seen the Jim Gaffigan comedy special where he talks about bourbon assholes and bourbon snobs?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's.
I need to watch it because I think he's funny. Yeah.
You'd like it. It's okay. Yeah, it's good. My nephew said, "You really need to watch it. It applies to you." And I'm like,
a little bit.
Are you a bourbon snob?
So there's this idea that I read in this book about the difference between elitism and snobbery, and it's one of my favorite quotes. Chris, have you heard this?
No,
Chris, you've heard this before.
So that's great. It's great that you're making it distinguished. A distinction.
So So this book is, I think it's called How Do You Pay for College or What We Pay for College. It's all about, people that were in our situations trying to decide, help your kid. Basically the guy that wrote the book is the New York Times financial writer. And he said, parents spend between $150,000 and $400,000 on sending their kids to school, and they don't do any research on, is this a good use of money? There's all kinds of parts in the book, but one of them is the chapter on elitism versus snobbery. And he basically makes this distinction. If you want your kid to go to one of these 12 elite schools, well, actually, he names specifically Center College. If you want your kid to go to Center College because they have one of the highest acceptance rates to law school and one of the third highest acceptance rates to medical school, and you're willing to pay for that reason, you're an elitist because you'll pay premium dollar for premium product and you don't mind. If you want your kid to go to Center so you can tell your coworkers that your kid goes to Center or fill in the blank, Harvard, MIT, whatever prestigious school, so you can tell your friends and your coworkers that's where your kid goes to school, you're a snob. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to recognize that's what you're spending $400,000 on, to send your kid to Harvard so you can tell your friends your kid goes to Harvard, as opposed to I'm sending my kid to University of Pittsburgh because their acceptance rate to graduate school for medical school is just as high as Harvard's.
That'd be a great podcast.
Oh, no, that's going to come out in bourbon.
Snobbery versus elitism.
So that me, I mean, I've been accused of being a bourbon snob, a beer snob, a food snob, and I just now retreat on every one.
Scott.
But I'm an elitist.
Hell yeah!
I can defend why I think these things are quality. And the funny thing is, and I'm gonna save it because if we talk about bourbon, coming up.
Plus we gotta cut this because I'm not allowing this to go over 1 hour.
Okay, good.
All right, everybody.
All right, so I say bourbon. I think we're all jacked up for bourbon or on bourbon. I'm not sure which.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.